Good morning. I am Ana María Zagaría, professor at the Rey Juan Carlos University, and with my colleague Jesus Miguel Flores Vivar, professor at the Complutense University, we are going to present the study carried out with the title Opportunities, Challenges and Risk of Clickbait in the Scientific Communication. The Spanish society is currently growing in scientific culture. In the long run, this means that it's going in the right direction. Unfortunately, the side effect is that journals lacking scientific rigor are producing false articles that provide a venue for pseudoscience that confuse readers, resulting in the deterioration of access to scientific information. The mass media and the journalists are the essential actors for the popularization of science, in addition to information and communication technologies, which are constantly evolving and changing. The informative coverage of the scientific news in the digital press is a topic that has been poorly studied in the academic field. In this line, this paper analyzes the effects of the communication that produced in the field of science with the use of the clickbait. The methodology used is qualitative and quantitative. A qualitative analysis of the characteristic elements of the clickbait technique is proposed, as well as an analysis of the interdependence relations between this component and science and journalism. It is investigated in the previous study on the digital press based on the research that covered the field of study of the clickbait technique. In the quantitative section, the objective is to find out whether clickbait is part of the so-called attention economy, through editorial methods that work as bait and are used by content generators to obtain greater interest. A content analysis is performed following the research model on clickbait analysis. This quantitative part not only always has to measure the effectiveness of the scientific news published by the digital media selected in this analysis, but also make it possible to find out whether clickbait influences the quality of the scientific information disseminated by the digital newspaper in the established study period. For this analysis, the 10 digital editions of the most read and consumed media in Spain have been selected according to the Reuters Institute Digital News Report conducted by the Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism of the University of Oxford. The unit of analysis has been determined, in this case, the science section of the 10 selected digital newspaper. In the empirical phase, 4 variables and 14 subvariables were defined. These indicators were coded with numerical values to facilitate the counting of the linguistic research used in the 10 Spanish digital newspaper in the week of analysis, taking into account that in order to check whether the clickbait technique influences the quality of scientific information published by the digital media, it is necessary to identify, firstly, which are the digital media that most use clickbait in the scientific news analysis, and secondly, which linguistic research would use in the scientific analysis in the week of analysis in the selected digital media, thus tracing a clearer profile of the clickbait phenomenon. These indicators have been applied to the 117 headlines collected from the science section of each digital newspaper in the period of study. In this sense, we have advocated the technique of the compost week, which applied in the construction of the corpus within the universe maintains representativeness thanks to the random procedure, which being the week the minimum construction of a corpus, has a more didactic purpose and management of research tools that it's applied to the field of communication, journalism, and the media. The general results of the study show that during the week of July 12 and 18, out of the 117 headlines analyzed in the science section of the 10 digital newspaper, 64 of them use the clickbait technique. Thus, it has been shown that the clickbait is present in the digital media in a very high percentage, over 50%, a fact that shows that digital newspapers make excessive use of this technique with the aim of attracting readers. It should be noted that during the period under study, some digital editions did not publish scientific contents. Of the 4 variables defined in this study, the clickbait research most used by the 10 digital newspapers was incomplete information with a percentage of 51%, 18% higher than exaggeration, 43%. The morphosyntaxis and the appellative expression were used to a lesser extent in the digital edition of the newspaper selected in the sample, achieving an equal percentage of 8%. Considering the proportionality of the use of the clickbait technique analysis in 4D, which include 14 variables analyzed, the incomplete information was the clickbait research most used by the 10 digital newspaper in 51% of the headlines. In second place comes the dimension of exaggeration, which is used in 33% of the headlines. In last place, and proportionally in a similar way, the dimensions of morphosyntaxis and appellative expressions have been used to a lesser extent, reaching only 8% in the digital edition of the selected newspaper. As for the appellative expression, the clickbait research of deitic formulas is used more in OK Diario, El Confidencial, and El Periódico in 25% of their headlines, followed by El País. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.